Hello and welcome to the Mongo Report. This is the Tuesday NFL Wrap-Up. If I seem a little scattered, it's because I stayed up last night watching the entire Bills-Jets game. I have never seen so much laundry on a field. I've also never seen so many missed kicks. I don't know if the wind was blowing especially fiercely. I don't know if the kickers had just partied a little too much before the game, but the doinks were plentiful last night. Jets kicker doinked twice in a row, which is the only reason the Bills won. They won by 3, and it took until 11:39 p.m. for them to close that out. Noticeable was that the old man, Aaron Rodgers, did complete one of his classic Hail Mary passes at the end of the first half. In the second half, the Bills dialed up the blitzes a little bit, and he was looking like he was starting to feel his age, like maybe he might need some of his herbal medication. But they made him stay in and play, because that's football and that's how it works. And, importantly, the Bills came out with a win. The Eagles, my NFC team, despite their recent stumbles, managed to beat Cleveland. Okay, let's face it. There are a lot of high school teams that could beat Cleveland. And this does not signal that the Eagles have fixed all their problems. Again, remind yourself, they beat Cleveland. Say it with me, Cleveland. The Browns, not a good team. And everybo's waiting to see what they do with Deshaun Watson, or if the police just come and take him off their hands. More good news, being a Philadelphia fan, I was very, very happy to see that Dallas was pounded to bits by the Detroit Lions. They came in with a vengeance and handed them a tremendously lopsided score on Jerry Jones' birthday. It's always nice to see them beaten, especially by a score of 47-9. Did have a Lions defensive player go down with what looked like a catastrophic leg injury. Turns out he just broke his tibia, although saying just on that is a little understating, as anybody who's ever broken a leg can tell you. Let's see. The Bears beat the Jaguars just like everyone else does. So we don't get a whole lot of points for that. Now, you're going to notice that the Jaguars, and I think this is the NFL taking pity on them, or maybe just wanting to get them out of the country for a couple of weeks. This game was the London game, for those of you who like to get up early on Sunday morning and watch football. And this was a game that you could safely go back to snoozing on if you wanted to. But then the Jaguars get to stay there until next week. And last year, they managed to beat the Bills. I don't even really want to think about that. But it was their second week in London. They were acclimated. They'd been to the pub and been, suitably dosed with ale, and the Bills had only been there a couple of days, and they were still reeling a little bit, and you could tell on the field. The 49ers, even without Christian McCaffrey, who was a huge part of their offense, looked like their old selves as they laid a 12-point whomping on the Seahawks. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers, yes, there is a professional football team in Charlotte, even though they don't usually look like it. Let's see, who did the Panthers lose to this week? Were they playing? Oh yeah, they lost to the Falcons. You remember when that used to be a big rivalry game, and everybody would get pumped up for it? Well, they lost 38-20 to the Falcons, the Dirty Birds. The Bengals, when I was a young man and I was a Houston Oilers fan, We used to call them the Bungles because they were our hated enemy, coached by the chair-throwing Sam Weish. But they beat the Giants, so that's another NFC East team out of the Eagles' way. The Steelers. Now, this is one of the NFL's legendary rivalries. The Steelers whomped the Raiders 32-13. I'm starting to think that maybe the move to LA for the Raiders was not the greatest idea because they seem to frequently play like a team that spent way too much time at a cabaret show or out at one of the many fine restaurants in Los Angeles, rather than learning how to play the game of football. On a side note, my wife still refers to them as the Los Angeles Raiders. I, being an old school guy, still call them the Oakland Raiders. And remember John Madden, say his name. Let's see, forgettable games from the weekend: Chargers and Broncos. Texans beat the Patriots as a surprise to absolutely no one. The Cardinals were thumped soundly by the Packers, as they should have been. The Colts, 3 points over the Titans. Two teams I couldn't care less about. Let's see, the Commanders. Where did the Commanders come from? How do they suddenly have a team? Well, they still lost by 7 to the Ravens, but they're definitely not a team to overlook this year. I still don't like the Commanders' name. I will still forever call them the Redskins. I know you can all call the PC police on me if you'd like to. That's fine. But I loathe the Ravens. I don't know why. In football, that's just sort of how it works. You hate teams and you can't really put your finger on it. The Buccaneers went into New Orleans. They had a lot of issues back home. What with 2 hurricanes in, a little over a week. A lot of them had severe damage. The Saints were nice enough to host all their families, get them places to stay and feed them and help them with some necessities. A lot of them, they're human beings too, and they had houses that had lost, just about everything. And in a show of wonderful, wonderful gratitude, the Buccaneers beat the Saints 51-27. Just goes to show what gratitude means in sports. And until next Tuesday, that's the Sports Report.